This has been a deadly year for law enforcement across Indiana. Multiple police officers have been killed in the line of duty. Most recently, Deputy John Durham was attacked and killed by an inmate during a hospital transport. In many of these cases, the death penalty is considered for the suspects. Our Rachel Kraus joins us live tonight in the newsroom. So Rachel, tell us about this new action being considered that would limit how the death penalty is used.
Well, Scott, legislation has been introduced in Congress that seeks to abolish the death penalty in federal cases. And while it wouldn't impact the 8 death row inmates awaiting execution in state cases, the process is moving slow in Indiana. Indiana overall hasn't taken action to carry out sentences for death row inmates in more than a decade. The punishment for killing a law enforcement officer, a heavy thought weighing on the minds of many this past year. Last summer, Elwood police officer Noah Shanavez and Richmond police officer Sierra Burton were shot just 11 days apart. Both the Madison and Wayne County prosecutors filed for the death penalty. And earlier this month, Deputy John Durham was allegedly killed by Orlando Mitchell while transporting him near the community justice campus. Marion County prosecutor Ryan Mears announcing last week plans to seek the death penalty in that case.
Very difficult announcement and one that nobody takes lightly, but given the circumstances, in particular what took place on Monday, we felt that the following course of action was appropriate.
In all these cases, trials, sentencing, and appeals will take years. The wheels of justice moving slowly, slower still, since Indiana hasn't executed anyone since 2009. Governor Holcomb and the Indiana Department of Correction has said Indiana doesn't currently have an inventory of lethal injection drugs and continues to explore ways to obtain them. But Robin Marr, executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, says around the country, demand in using capital punishment as a sentence has been dropping.
Over the past several years, we have seen a tremendous decrease in the number of executions and in the number of new death sentences. So that's been a trend that has been consistent for probably the last 10 years. We have been below 30 executions and 50 new death sentences every year for many years now.
New legislation has been filed in the Senate that seeks to abolish the federal death penalty and require those death row inmates be resentenced. Marr says that wouldn't impact death row inmates for state crimes, including the 8 awaiting execution in Indiana.
The largest number of people who are sentenced to death in the United States are on state death rows. There are only 41 people on the federal death row, and that's in Terre Haute, Indiana.
And Marr says public perception around the death penalty has been shifting.
Attitudes in the United States have been changing. We've certainly seen that in public opinion polls. We've seen that in the number of death sentences that juries are returning when they are asked to decide whether someone lives or dies. I think people are concerned about the tremendous costs of the death penalty, the length of time before an execution takes place, and think that those funds could be used for different purposes in their communities.
Experts say bringing death penalty cases not only takes far more time, but they're far more expensive. Marr says with the most severe penalty available in our criminal justice system, it's important to ensure defendants get a fair trial.